All right. So there's a couple of things about women's hormone therapy. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And it's become a thing that everybody wants to do in the last couple of weeks because up until like literally 6 to 8 weeks ago, the consensus from the medical community was that hormone therapy caused cancer, and so no one should talk about it or do it. They didn't do it. And finally RFK came out and he was like, we have thousands and thousands of research articles proving it doesn't cause cancer and proving that it's wildly beneficial. You guys should start doing this. The problem is that no one knows how to do it because the medical docs have not been teaching it, and no one's been doing it. Couple quick things we really kind of want to make sure that you kind of keep in mind. If you're looking to do this, every time you do this, a lot of people are taking these 40, 50-year-old women and they're like, well, let's reset you back to when you were 20 because that's when you were healthiest and that's what we should go back to. That is a horrible, terrible idea. Look at the purpose of those hormones. The purpose of those hormones when you were 20 was to make sure that you could have a baby. If you're trying to have a baby at 50, those are great levels to go back to. If you're not trying to have a baby, probably not the best option. Again, each one of these hormones does something specific in the body. The other thing to remember is that the lab values are all wrong. And the easiest way to know the lab values are wrong is because a lot of the lab values, some of these have been changing lately, which is good. They're still wrong. But a lot of the lab values, like I've been doing this for 10 years, for testosterone in women, the acceptable range started at 0. So apparently the lab community was telling everybody that as long as a woman had 0 testosterone, she was where she's supposed to be, which is, oh my God, so wrong. So anyway, the vast majority of the problems that women are having, the energy, the sex drive, the orgasm function, the mental clarity, the joint pain, the osteoporosis, the muscle wasting, the fat gain, that's all testosterone. All those things are testosterone. So that's what testosterone does. So you want to make sure that she has the ample amount of testosterone. Now here's the key factor. Testosterone converts to estrogen, but it converts intracellularly. What that means is that it's not going to change in the blood. It's going to change at the target site. So what ends up happening is that hot flashes start going away, night sweats start going away, vaginal dryness starts going away, all those things start going away, but the estrogen levels in the blood don't go up at all. Because again, it's changing at the ovary, it's changing at the uterus, it's not changing in the blood. So if you take the blood, there's no more estrogen inside the blood. And so people go, oh, you still don't have any estrogen. And then they give you estrogen, again, usually trying to hit those target levels of the 18 to 25-year-old. And now, since the testosterone converted to estrogen, and now we're adding estrogen in, now we have an excess of estrogen. Not a huge thing in a lot of women, but there's a bunch of women that creates estrogen dominant style issues over time. And so people don't really understand that. They're sitting there scratching their head and they're like, well, why these symptoms appear all of a sudden? Well, they didn't appear all of a sudden. You've been building them up over the past months and years. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind is that where's the estrogen converting and how are we going to get it in the body? The last piece that I see all the time that I always think is hilarious, and again, I hope this is why I say that people don't understand what these hormones' jobs are. There's research out that says progesterone helps keep the uterus functional and healthy and all this sort of stuff, and I'm not arguing that at all. What I am trying to tell you is that progesterone's job is to increase blood flow to the uterus to promote gestation. Progesterone, promote gestation. So what ends up happening is that these 40 and 50-year-old women start having cycles again, or their cycles start having twice a month, or they start having a heavier flow, and nobody can understand what it is. And they start jacking with the estrogen levels, and you're like, nah! So that's what's going on. So if you've been put on progesterone and you're starting to see cycle function again, or increased cycle function, that's most likely it. And so I would try to talk to your doc about how much progesterone you're using. So those are just some of the things that are going on. The biggest issue is that you cannot treat women's hormone therapy on labs. You have to talk to your patients. How do you feel? How is your energy? Have you been marketing? Have you been tracking this? Have you been going through the whole thing? That's the biggest issue, is you got to talk to your patients. You can't just look at their lab values and be like, your labs are where they're supposed to be, so you're good. I have seen lots and lots and lots of women whose lab values were good and they felt miserable because they didn't basically talk to the patient and be like, how do you feel? One of the things I would highly recommend that you guys to do before you start hormone therapy of any kind, men or women, is chart your stuff. How do I feel? Like we have a whole big list of stuff. I send people the goals call questions. I send people like how, energy levels at 8 a.m., at 10 p.m., all the way through that day. All sorts of questions about, function and stuff like that. how are these things going? And they rate them down, and then we make a change. And then we wait, 6 weeks or so, and we come back and how are they doing? Like, oh, these are all better. These haven't changed. Great. Now we know in you, with your specific body, where we need to start tweaking things. So the problem is that this isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. This isn't really, really fast. You can't multi-market this. You can't online just, we'll just ship you your 2 grams of blah, blah, blah. That's not how this really works very well. So that's kind of the big thing. So, as the patient, you guys need to kind of start charting all this stuff, how you feel, how things are going. And then I would recommend that you add one hormone in at a time. And I would recommend that you start with testosterone, because testosterone gives you the vast majority of the problems that you're dealing with. And it will convert over inside your body into the estrogen that will help you with the hot flashes, night sweats, and vaginal dryness, sometimes hair loss, if that's an issue. And then once you've kind of figured out, okay, where am I with just the testosterone as my base, then start adding things in. Like I said, progesterone is not a terrible thing to add in, even in the 40, 50-year-old women. It's just, you've got to understand what it's doing. You have to start monitoring and talking to your patient, figuring out how your cycle flow is going. So for hormone therapy for women, specifically testosterone, is an amazing thing. You guys should all be looking into it. You guys should all be checking it. I've had so many women come back and tell me how much better they feel. And the one that I wasn't expecting, that I hear quite a bit, is that they don't feel as crazy, because testosterone helps the brain function. And so now all of a sudden, as everything starts getting functional again, they calm down. They're not as emotionally all over the place. So think of it this way. When you're tired, when you're exhausted, and something's a little irritating, you know how much you blow it out of proportion? Same idea. If you're always exhausted, if you're always tired, if you're always on edge, that's a problem. And so there's a lot of these things that will really kind of help. The other thing that we see with testosterone use is we see an increase in muscle function, increase in muscle mass, increase in muscle tone. And that does kind of help to a degree with insulin sensitivity. Insulin sensitivity is a major problem for the brain, because your brain creates and communicates with itself with insulin, hence dementia being type 3 diabetes. But anyway, so get that checked out. If you guys are not on hormone therapy, get it looked at, and make sure that you guys are doing this in a manner that is functional for you. You guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for your time.